Hey, Gary Hoover here, and I wanted to show you around my latest little program. This is something that I've wanted for years and years, which is the ability to dream up a city, dream up skyscrapers, how I want them to look, how tall I want them to be, small buildings, arrange streets, build maps, all that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of programs that you can ultimately do that. They take a huge amount of work for have a learning curve, everything from very expensive architectural programs down to a open source one called Blender. Anytime you work with 3D images and rotate them, trying to make a realistic picture, if you use like CAD software or something, they don't naturally lead themselves to doing buildings, because you've always got to say, well, where is the ground level? It starts at sea level at zero, and then to say, "Oh, I want a 10-story building," you can't do that, or it takes more work. And then a piece of software came out called SketchUp, which is wonderful and does a lot of that. Still not quite as easy to build how tall you want real fast. But it's wonderful. Used by a lot of architecture schools and students and professionals. But it's like $100 a month or 300 a year. That's a big discount, I guess. Anyhow, and that's a little pricey just for having fun. And so I dreamed about this. I remember talking to a programmer sitting beside me on an airplane, laying it all out how I wanted it. That's probably 20, 25 years ago, man. And what it would take and how much you'd have to pay somebody to do it and all that. Anyway, with AI, Chat GPT, I've been able to build something that seems to be working pretty well after, gosh, probably the equivalent of 4 days of around the clock work, something like that. And so the way this thing works, and it says it right here on the opening page, it's an HTML file, which should work on any computer. It should work, it works in any browser, should work on a tablet, but I haven't tested it. Hasn't been tested on Apple as far as I know. So here I'm on a Windows PC and it seems to work. I'm always making improvements. I'm sure I'll come across some things in this little demo that, hey, I want to add that or fix that. Anyway, so the way it starts is you build a city a block at a time. Now, these are big blocks, but you put buildings on it and then you combine them into a city. So the idea is first you create these city blocks and then you bring them together to create a whole city. So where I'm going to start is a new city block, just so you how that works. I've got to give it a name. I'm going to give it Gary 2 because I created one that was Gary 1. And so what we get here, this is called plan view. It says it here. You can always come back to it with this. And you can draw on it, either freehand or snap to this grid. Now look at this grid. This is 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet. It's broken into every 100 feet. If you were to take a quarter of it, the 500-foot line down to the 500-foot line, each quarter, that's 500 feet by 500 feet. That's 250,000 square feet. That's about the same size as a Chicago city block, and a little bigger than a New York City block. Now, a standard block in like Midtown Manhattan. Now, if you've walked in Manhattan, like from 3rd Avenue to Park Avenue to 5th Avenue to Avenue of the Americas to 7th Avenue to 8th Avenue, and you're crossing town on 34th or 42nd or 59th, those long, tiring blocks, they're 920 feet long. So they're like this long. So, but that gives you some idea. You have a lot of space to build buildings with in each block, and then you can do more blocks and make a city out of them. Now, once I've got this, I'm going to leave it on freehand draw. I have a lot of options on what I can draw. So I could draw a rectangle, you know, I could draw a square. That's a rectangle, guys. I'm not snapping to the grid. I could have, and then it would have forced it into one of the grids. I draw a triangle. Whoop, I could draw a circle. I can draw point to point. That's what I mainly use. So you click points, boom, 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 boom. Double click on the last one, it'll close the shape. Or you can draw it yourself, come back all the way to the beginning one, double click on that one, and there's your shape. Let's see, anything else I want to touch on? Well, you can do point to point with curves. That gets a little interesting. Except, so undo, I can always undo. Oh, it's undoing the buildings because I never closed this. Okay, so let's close that. Now, curve point drawing, but then I have to say use curves. So let's try that. Yeah, see, here we go. We're going to get some sort of crazy double click it. And okay. And then I can build a star and, like that, 5-pointed star. Let's make it a 8-pointed star and raise this convexity thing up to like 80 and just see what happens. And make sure you enter them or it's not going to work. And then you're going to get, which is actually the 8-pointed star of Islam called the Khatim, one of my favorite shapes. It's very common in Islam, although you can find it in the floor at the church in Florence, and you can find it. I saw it in the ceiling in a University of Chicago old 1890s room. Wonderful shape. Let's see. You can do a any kind of a polygon. So let's just do a 10-sided polygon. And boom. Okay, any number of sides I want. Okay, now in this, and when you're looking at this, you can use your mouse, and this is true in almost everything we see in this program. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. You can use the left click, the right mouse button to move her around, and you can use the well in the 3D things. Trying to draw a new building there for me. With the 3D things, you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Yeah, you can do that here. Okay. And then if you want to move something, you have to turn on move objects. It'll light up. You can grab one, you move it. You have to use these one time. Resize objects, same thing. Buildings shouldn't topple on top of each other. You can delete an object. You can use undo right away, but if you later want to delete it, you can fit the grid, just makes it fill the screen. And you can always take a JPEG, what you're doing. It'll ask you where you want to save it, what you want to call it, whatever, if you want. Okay, so what I've done in plan view is I've laid out the ground floor. These are all buildings that touch the ground. And you know what I'm going to do for this demo to make it simpler and faster is I'm going to delete a bunch of objects here. Little less to show you. Okay. Now I've got what I want, and it gives me little messages here, and it keeps a list, and what it says here is the height isn't set. So this is just like the outline on the ground when they're doing the early construction, right? So now it's called elevation view. Click down here, keep this. Now what it does is it's all those buildings, they don't have any heights. So they're circled in red. So you just click on it. And so that big, whatever that was, 10-sided thing or something, let's make it, average building story is somewhere like 10, 15 feet tall, I think. Maybe some are 20. And obviously some stories vary in height in some buildings. But here we're just going with feet. We don't have to tell how many stories. So I'll make it 50 feet tall. And it'll say that now. The bottom is at 0 and the top is at 50. And then let's see. This one, let's make it a little skinny square tower. Let's take it up to 100 feet. Okay. This one, a pretty squat building, maybe 20 feet. Let's make this one nice and tall. 70 feet. Okay. So anyway, so I've got all those. Now, one of the things I can do this in plan view. So I'm going back there because it's going to remember all that. And I can keep drawing, and I can add like a tower. So how adventuresome do I want to get? Let me just try a rectangular tower. I'm going to put it, you know what? I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to put one on this build. Whoops. Whoop. Undo. Okay. Take the, let's see. I want to draw a rectangle. No. Oh, I left the delete objects on. Okay. So now I'm going to draw a rectangle. And then I'm going to draw another rectangle on top of that, right? Okay. Now we'll come back here, and those two don't have heights. Well, the thing is, they're going to pile up on top of each other. So this first one, it starts at 100 feet. I'm going to take it up another 50 feet. I enter the change in height. So it's half as tall as that base thing that was under it. And then this one still isn't marked. And see, it starts at 150 feet. Calculate it right. It's on top of that other one. So I'll just take it up another 30 feet. So they get shorter as they go up. Okay. So anyway, now I've done that. And what I can do from elevation view is go to 3D view, but the quick way to do it is here. And what this gives me is a 3D view of those structures with all their sides. So I call them faces, are all listed. Now the one that's curved, that's going to be work a little differently, be a little odd. But with the left mouse button, I'm doing that. With the mouse wheel, I'm doing that. And with the right mouse button, I'm going like that, okay? And in 3D view, I can always save a JPEG of almost anything in the program, hit that and save her. It's set up so I could like do a fly through of it once I got these things colored in and everything, or if not, I guess. And so do a little GIF or GIF recording, and those can get big if you have a full size picture and you have a lot of frames, or you record for if you try to record for like a whole minute or 2 minutes, it's not going to work very well. So you can adjust the frames per second and the size of it. You put in how wide it's going to be, and it automatically adjusts the height to match television or screens or whatever. But anyway, and at some point I'll try to add record a regular video like an MP4. But here's what we got. We have all these options on how to treat these faces. So the most basic is just to paint a face. So click on a face, and down here, apply it to this face only, or wrap all the way around the building. So, and here's an eyedropper. If there were a color already on the thing, I could pick it up. But if you click on the color, that's the key. You get this color field, and that's a bright blue. I could, make it a darker blue. I could make it over here. This would be white. This would be black. Keep it bright. I'm going to, and then here you can pick the hues, and you can probably enter the numbers too. And again, eyedropper in case there's a color on there, you just want to reuse it. So I'm going to make it like a pretty bright red. I can close that and apply it. And what I've got is one face was colored. Now, if I'd said use all the way around, and let's change the color. And the one thing is, I've got it up here at this level of like saturation and value and brightness and all that. So if I go to another color and leave the dot there, it'll like jive with that other color, right? As opposed to going a lot darker, real lighter. Because if you put the dot over here, you're going to have a bunch of pastels, and down here, you're going to have like maroons and deep blues or whatever. So I keep it bright, but here I've set it to be the whole thing, wrap the building. So when I do that, the whole building gets wrapped. Okay. Now I can do that to every surface here. This is already set. Just do it. Um, the okay. Oh, what I did was it. Let's undo that. Is I want to go to just the surface because I'm doing a roof. And I'm going to click it, and that should work. Yeah, okay. Anyway, okay, so there are a lot of things I can do, and if I pick one of these other ones as I go down it, it'll replace the one that's already there or put it on top or whatever. So next thing I can do is I can do gradient. And here I already set it up so goes through 4 colors from the beginning, and it goes from a blue to a purple through the color spectrum to red, and ends up at an orange. And you can say, is it a vertical, a horizontal, whatever. So if I do a vertical gradient, and I do the walls of this thing, and I say do them all, it should put gradient all the way around, which it did. And so, it's a pretty crazy looking building, but I like crazy looking things. Now, the next thing here, swivel around. Let's try working on the tower. So again, I can use those at any time. The next choice I have is I could put an image on a face. And so you gotta load an image, any, JPEG, a PNG, they should all work. And then you can apply the image to the whole thing, take that image and make it fit, it'll adjust the dimensions to this space. Or I can tile it and make it into like 3 copies across and 3 down, 9 of them, and change that relationship. But what I'm gonna do, first you gotta pick the image you're gonna use, and I've got a bunch here that I just loaded, and I don't even know what they are, but I put some in, and I'm gonna apply fitted to, so what I've got, oh, and I had left it on wrap. Okay, so we'll leave it with wrap and see if it worked. Is what it did is it took this old aviation ad that I had, Pan American Airways going to Havana, and that's now like a billboard on all 4 sides. So let's go to the top one, and we could put 4 different images. Um, let's try loading another one of these guys. Well, I think they're different maps and things. I don't know. And I'm up here. No, I want to put a single face, and now apply it fitted to the face. And oh, it's a photograph I took of, I think that's one I took. Anyway, it's a cool old building. It might be the General Motors headquarters, the old one. Anyhow, in Detroit. And so you could go ahead and put, different image on each one. You could paint them. Let me see. Let me try the tiling one. See, it should already have that image in its memory. So if I just say tile it, not fitted image, but here, tile and apply. Yeah, see, it did a 3 by 3 grid of that same image that I had. Now, and I tell you, it takes some practice to get the how to move it around right, but that's the same in all these 3D kind of programs. Now let's see. So I could apply picture. The next thing, I put an architectural face. So I'm going to do that on one of the other buildings. Well, I don't have that many here. Uh, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to wrap, and I'm going to put a glass curtain wall all the way around. Okay. And here we have all these choices: reflective glass, apartments, brick, terracotta. Sometimes if you put on one like granite, it doesn't look right. It's just like a, let me see if I can take one. Let's do single face only. And so if I do, let's try one of the stones, marble, apply to surface. Yeah, see, that doesn't look right. So what I can do is, again, I could add mortar or a grid in there. Bond, straight grid. Let's try this. I haven't tried this. Add the mortar. And by doing that, well, it didn't help much. Some are better than others. And I keep adding some. If I just try, okay, how about apartment with wide picture windows? And I want to make sure it's just on the one surface. Now let's go ahead and wrap the building. And then I say apply it to the surface. Oh, it forgets exactly where I was at. And I'm on wrap. And there you go. And so now we got our nice building that, looks like a real building, kind of. Okay, so that's one of the many things you can do. Then the other thing, let's see what buildings I got. Okay, let's take the colorful one. I like the way it looks. Let's take this one. And you can add street level design. And that, if it all works right, that just goes in front of this. So this stays. And so if I say I want to add a department store, I want the front of it to be 3 stories high, and I want one image horizontally. I'm going to pick this face. I want selected face only. In this case, boom. And it played around, but it gave me this department store on the ground floor, right? Uh, oh, here we go. Choo 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 choo. Come on, baby. Oh, when you go underneath it, it gets weird. I was going to change that, but it's kind of cool. And zoom back out. Move it over. Oh, I still got this guy I haven't done anything with. Okay. So, seen how that works. You have lots of choices. Here's a post office, a theater, a single family house. That's new. I haven't tested it yet. And you can either one of them is it just puts a whole bunch of different stores around there. That's the series across face, just jewelry stores and clothing, like a strip shopping center. And you could wrap that all the way around the building. Then the other thing, I haven't played with this much recently, but is a tiled face. And that's where in this little tile you can draw. It's got all the same kind of choices, but you pick a color and a brush width. How about we go with a bright green? Um, and I think a 6 brush is pretty big. So let's try a 3 and tile shape, color fill. Oh, I added those things, haven't tested those all out yet. I think you got to check this box to make that work. And then what I can do, freehand pen, I can, now if you're an artist, you can figure out ways to make the shapes jive so that they match, the edges hit just right. You study the art of like MC Escher and stuff, or anyway, so I've created a little tile with these green things in it, and I could, why not make it Christmassy here? A similar size brush, and uh, so whatever. But you could make something look really neat, make squares. Can't snap to grid there. How many repeats? Same kind of thing. How many horizontal? How many vertical? That's a pretty tall space. Horizontally, I'm going to make it 4, and vertically, I'm going to make it 12. Reset the tile grid, all this apply tile to face. And what I've got is zoom in fairly long way, but it's there. Okay. I really don't like that. Anyhow, so let's see. And those are the choices for doing stuff to the faces. So there's a lot of choices there. And gosh, I do like those gradients. So go here, wrap, use the same gradient. Why not? And I go to the ceiling, the roof. That should be the face only. Apply the gradient. So, so now I've got 2 images. Takes a fair amount of work. Get the mouse wheel going again. When you zoom in real tight, it gets pretty confused. Oh, and then, okay, so now, so I say I've decorated the faces, and I could color the roofs too. I should probably color this one and this one and this one. But the other thing is down here, after all those options for working with faces, is the option to add a roof. I really like these pyramid roof. Make it real steep. Let's say 60 degrees. I'm putting it on a blue building. Let's make it blue. Pick the hue. Got it. And boom. So there it has this pyramid. Come on, back out. Pyramids. There you go. Style roof. Okay. And there's a couple other options here, flat roof and so on. At some point I'll add more of those. Change the color, could remove it. Just to be good, we ought to put a roof on the tower. And how about just another little spiky roof? Okay. Everything else stays the same. And depending on where you move it, they look pretty odd. Okay, now the last thing you can do, you can turn the grid on and off. Doesn't make much difference. It's going to disappear if we do it right, because ideally you paint this ground. What's the ground? And there we got grass and I think desert and gravel and sand and asphalt. And I didn't realize they had a parking lot for me. Let's see what that looks like. Apply surface to ground. Great, great. The whole thing is a frigging parking lot. All right, that's kind of like the real world, isn't it? And here's the thing. When these images in this 3D view, because that's what we're in, is a 3D view. Of course, you can always come back up here and save a JPEG. You should be able to. Yeah, you know, so I could save a picture just like what it's showing. You could also use Snagit or something like that, a screenshot thing. I love Snagit. That's what I'm using to make this video cheap and easy. Um, so I got my ground surface. You could paint it a color, but down here, 3D export. So if I say save as 3D, I can pick from different formats, but AI tells me that these are all used in other architecture and 3D software systems. The best way to keep all these pictures and images is to use this one, or I think the second one's supposed to do that too. You know, it's a developer version with GLB, whatever that means. So now if I save it, it's gonna, you know, send me somewhere. It takes a minute because there's a lot of information in here. Maybe it just saves it without telling me. I'll check later and fix that if it does. But the thing is, I know this has worked before on a program, is you can load it into all these others. Okay, so it wants to know where to save this stuff, I guess. Oh no, it just, here we go. So there. It just took it a while to digest all that information. Saved it. So anyway, so you could import that, and it might be saving multiple files. You know, I think I hit the button twice. Anyway, the thing is, if you do this and hit save as 3D or save and close the 3D view, you can use that in all those other programs, and it'll retain all this crazy stuff we've done to it. It's a pretty good looking block, other than you know, maybe not a parking lot, huh, guys? So let's just go with grass. This is a park-like big office complex. And there we go. And the other thing is, I had to change it because I like some of those surfaces, but you couldn't use them anywhere else in the thing. So I added, you can pick these, and then so I could put here. I could put grass on the roof of a building, or you know, concrete or something. Just gave me more options for building tops. Double grass. How about that? Should have finished that building. Anyway, so now what I've got is this city block, and I could keep adding stuff. I can come back, I can change it later and everything. And what I want to do is I want to save the city block JSON. This is the JavaScript way it talks to itself, the program, and uses the stuff later. So I save it. It takes a minute. Make sure it's still putting it in a folder where I'm keeping everything. My folder is overflowing because of all the testing I've done, but you know, you can set it up to be simpler and just have one folder and where you keep all the stuff. Okay, so I've made a city block. Now, what I want to go to is I want to go to the city builder where I combine blocks. And what I'm going to do is I need to start a new city, and I'd have to name it, or I can load an existing one. And if I load an existing one, like I say, let's see, I want to make sure I've got my latest things here. The way it calls them, you don't want to have all these, because these are all testing things, is it'll say whole city JSON. So I'm loading into this. So what this is again, we're in like a plan view. And again, you know, all these zoom and all that, the rotate doesn't work when you're looking at it. And so what I've got is I've loaded, these are blocks I created earlier as I developed the program. And what I should be able to do is import, and there's always a bunch of choices. Fit, take a JPEG, load another whole city, save the whole thing. If I have, since I last visited this city, which I call Dreamville, and I've changed some of the blocks, I can have it go back and update them for any changes I've made. That's what this is all about. But what I want to do here is I want to import one, and we call it Gary 2. And now it wants to know where I want to put it. And there it is. Okay. Now this, and we can't do much else here. I mean, if it's new, we can rotate it. Let's see. Supposed to let me move and rotate, but it isn't, so I'll fix that. Anyway, not a big deal at this point. And you should be able to move it. Oops. Let me see. Let me. Nope. Okay. Anyway, so I've laid them out and added them in. And let's see. Open choose block and city block builder. That takes you back to the old thing because the other thing, first phase was called city block builder. This is like a whole city builder. Now, what we can do here in this one is we can add features, and if you draw a coastline, the way I created this is I just, draw a coastline is I did the dot to dot to dot to dot to dot, clicked over here on the end, and it automatically figures out, well, which side is the water and which side is the buildings. And so it creates this coastline. And I did dot to dot to give it a little bay. And then I could also add all this other stuff because this is an overview of this combined city. So, just to show you how it works, um, is, and here an option, use curved lines, is I could draw a railroad track. This is an existing railroad track, so I'll try to connect them. Be better if I zoomed in to make sure I got it. They overran a little bit. Okay, you got the idea. And if I wanted to put a streetcar, a rail spur, a river, a forest, or a lake, a boulevard, an avenue, there are different widths and everything. There's an alley. There's a sidewalk. Anyway, and you can see here. Hit escape so it doesn't keep trying to draw things. You can see here I've already added a bunch of stuff because all of this kind of city level stuff is added in this step here. And see that I don't want. So this is a way you pull, because you could theoretically build a whole country, and there's 5x5 blocks here. So this is a 5,000 feet by 5,000 feet, a mile by a mile. So there's 25 spots you can load blocks into. Obviously, at some point, I would love to build a whole country and cover thousands of miles, but I try to do that, and for it to deal with these little city details and a giant picture was really stretching things. So, I guess I can go to a 10 by 10 block next or something, but you can do all kinds of cool stuff, and you can do curved ones and everything. And you can save all of this now that you've made a change. And when you do that, it's a little awkward. It wants to know, name the project subfolder. Okay, so I gave it a subfolder. Well, in any case, it's not going to make the subfolder, and that's a problem with my internet browser in Windows. It has trouble making subfolders. I never figured out why. So what it's going to do is it should, on a computer that's working right, automatically save these instead of me having to save each one. And what it's doing is it's saving each of those blocks, so it knows how to use them and integrate them into the city. So it's and the reason you have to save them now, and the old blocks I made didn't work, is because now it's got the rivers and the railroads and all that on top of it. And I have you know, whoop, still one more save to go. No, so I think I canceled that. Anyway, the thing is, again, all those tools work. You see, I have, and it looks funny when you're moving it around. It'll settle down if you do it right and get it right. Yeah, you can always move it a little bit and get. So what I can see is I've got 5 city blocks here, and that's what it did. It had me save each of the 5. Anyhow, and you can do in the 3D view, you can do GIF recording, whatever. And you can save this whole thing for use in other systems, this GLP save. And so what we got here is, if I rotate it back up, zoom in, these are some of the things I built. So, I built this kind of crazy apartment building here. I built another, this guy. It's a highway road, and it looks like cars are moving on it. That's not part of the plan. Odd little buildings, marble and stuff. A star building with different faces. One of my favorites. And it gets tricky trying to zoom in on what you want to see and how to use the left and right mouse button. But you can see here, one of my favorite buildings is the beautiful Hoover building, which has solar panels on the roof. That was one of the options. And it has pictures of me all around it. And on one side, a book we produced at the American Business History Center. Here, this big building, whoop, I overzoomed. Um, it's got a beautiful department store in it with a highway and I think a railroad track nearby. Oh, I tried to do some tract housing. Uh, Bring my image back to me. I tried to do some tract housing. Oh, come on, baby. Let's zoom in. There you can see right here, and we could, there you go. So, tract apartments, I don't know, didn't work too well. The road goes to nowhere, big department store. Here, I think this is an industrial area, you know. It does have, I think I put a railroad, yeah, I think that's a railroad, supposed to be a railroad track there. And then, oh, this was a cool one I built. I was using those gradients. And it's got paving stones, and pyramid buildings that are all just alike. And then the base of it, the base of it is all stores, bank. There's a bookstore in there, a jewelry store. There's a hotel. There might be a cinema, and it's got a ring road. I created that in this city builder. And then there's the one. Whoa. The one we just added. Okay. And with our little tower. Now you're generally going to get a better look at it using going back to the block builder. They have the same details and everything, but this is dealing with a lot more information here. But whoop, there you can see the nine buildings, one building on the other side, the Pan American Airways ad, a store I added. And then the main block I built is this one. And not only does it have the Hoover building and a crazy looking apartment building and the Star building, but it's got, ooh, boy, it's sensitive. It's got this tower with a clock on top and an Air France ad. And oh, yeah. And then here, if I can get it around there. I put a shopping center on top, and I think that's like a marketplace in Istanbul or something. Picture I put up there, but you can dream anything you can dream up, or a lot, not anything, and create these imaginary cities. And I think you certainly always take a JPEG. And a lot of those turn out pretty good. Sometimes you got to play with it to get it, just the way you want it. You can save the whole thing. We already did that. I think we did it. Yeah, since I changed. You want to make sure you change before you save it before you change. I mean, once you change anything, save it again. And that's about it at this point, this stage of development, which is, I don't know, the 30th version that I've worked on, maybe. It does take a fair amount of work to get it right and keep tweaking it. And sometimes AI is not completely cooperative. But you can see how here you would build, let me see if I can get this guy flat in front, like that. And then use this to lift it. Oh, too high. Boy, the right mouse click is sensitive. Yeah, and so, whoop. You can see how. You can see the whole city here, or at least the basic idea. And zooming does weird things, but here, near the bay there is massive. There's the bay, but you can see all this stuff with that big tower and the Hoover building and everything is pretty near the water. And there's actually streetcar tracks that run through there. There's the tract housing over here. Here's the new stuff we created. Here's the industrial building, and that's all saved. It's really building a map. I think that covers all the features that it has today, so I think it wraps it up. But for me, it's just fun. It's just you use your imagination, try and see how different things look, and ultimately, and someday maybe I'll have cars and trains that are running on that. But I don't know if I can achieve that using these methods I'm using, letting AI do the work, and then me saying, "Oh, you got that wrong. You got that wrong. Now get this. Oh, that was right. Now it's wrong." Over and over and over again. But hey, it sure beats paying somebody $20,000 or $5,000 or whatever 20 years ago to get my little thing working. And that's a demonstration of what is presently called CityPlanner v12, version 12. And it wasn't just the 12th version. After you do like 15 versions of one, you get tired of seeing the same name. So I start a new name and call that version one, just to from getting going crazy. And here is all this save stuff, save project folder, save whole city in 3D, go back to the city block builder, and and I can always go back and um, do a new city block, that kind of stuff, and I can always go to the 3D view with this. And one of the things is I know this is the city builder. Here is this flat screen, right, where you add the blocks, and then from there you go to the 3D view, right? Yep. Oh, it's saving something. Forget that. And it's recording. Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you'd like a copy. The thing is, this whole thing is only a 300K file, which is pretty amazing. Me, it's got all that stuff loaded in. But knowing me, I went ahead like a million different surfaces and street types and try to get them all right. It has a little trouble drawing curved streets. They look a little weird, but it does a pretty good job. That parking lot looked pretty good if you like parking lots. And that's it for me. And thanks again for your time.